H, 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 H. Remember that segment on Sesame Street? It was a Bert and Ernie segment where they did that. H, H. Because Bert was watching TV and the TV started doing that. And as a matter of fact, this is the second episode of this webcast in a row that has to do with Bert and Ernie. But anyway, that's because Bert and Ernie are just so cool. Bert and Ernie are kings among men. They're just so cool that we have to do 2 episodes in a row about them. But remember that Bert and Ernie segment from Sesame Street where Bert was watching TV and the TV was doing that? It was going H, H. It was cool. But I remember I started doing that. That's one of my... anytime I do that, anytime a hemorrhoid is detected. Like, I call it the big H. Like, like every time, like if I'm at like an important family gathering or something, and the itching and burning and pain of a hemorrhoid occurs, I start going H, H, H. That's what I start doing. I start saying that. But because I don't want to, the reason I started doing that a long time ago. The reason I started doing that is because I don't want to stand there and say in front of everybody, it's a hemorrhoid. I don't want to stand there and say, I have a hemorrhoid. I don't want to stand there and say that. So I have to be subtle about it. I have to be underhanded and subtle and discreet about it. So one time I started doing that, and my mom didn't know what I was doing. So I kept going H, H, and my mom said, Tim, what are you doing? I said, it's the big H. And she says, well, then why don't you go and do something about it? Why don't you go buy some Preparation H instead of standing around acting like an idiot about it? She says, nobody knows what you're... She says, nobody knows what you're talking about. You stand around going H, H. Well, yeah, that was the whole point. That was why I did it. So, I remember there was one Occupy March. It was one of the earlier Occupy marches. We were marching around downtown. And there was and I had a hemorrhoid. And I had to... It was a chore to walk around. It was a chore just to walk up the street because of this hemorrhoid. That's how painful it was. It was burning and everything. And then when I went to a few months ago, it was in September. It was in September, and I had that really bad spell. And I went to the pharmacy. The drugstore up the street to get hydrocortisone for it. And the pharmacist, I didn't say why I was buying it, but the pharmacist must have known because he says a little bit goes a long way, so he must have known. But so that's the story of the big H. So, yeah, you remember that Sesame Street segment with Bert and Ernie? Bert was watching TV, and he says, oh, no, my favorite TV show. And I was watching my favorite show, and this big H comes on. And then Ernie comes along and opens up the TV and starts taking out items that start with the letter H. That's what it's... Remember that on Sesame Street? Open up the TV, there's a hemorrhoid down in there, Bert. That's what it's like. This TV has a hemorrhoid. Hemorrhoid is a good H word, Bert. Remember that? Remember that? Just how cool Ernie and Bert were. And the one with it was so that so and another thing like that was the big D. It was because big D stands for diarrhea. Diarrhea. So that's what the big D is. And there was one time we were at like some important family gathering, and I was in the bathroom for like a half hour with the big D. And then I got out and I said, and I said it was the big D. They said, why were you in there for so long? I said, because of the big D. And then later on, one of my family members, they sent out an email, like a big group email, and they said, I hope your big D turns into just a little S. They said that. So that's how. Let me check this this computer program here. Man, this is a shame. This way this computer program's been acting. But WYY let's see. So and also on Sunday I actually went scholaring on Sunday. I did. Can you believe that? In this weather, I actually scholared on Sunday. But it was probably close to 50 degrees that day. Or at least it felt like it. But the ice hadn't melted. So I didn't want to go very far because it might be dangerous. That's the story of the big H. I